What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Wake and Jake College Football Show. Today is your Week 4 preview. Typical episode today, going through some news and notes, giving out my freshman Power 4 QB rankings. We do have a new edition this week. And then we're previewing games, and I'll be giving out my 5 favorite bets at the very end. Let's have a good Wake and Bake sesh, and let's get right into it. All right, so some news did drop, and this was after I had already recorded, or at least I didn't see it until after I had recorded, um, following week 3. And this has happening so much earlier than I thought it would happen. I figured, with the way the rules are set up, that teams would wait until there's been at least 5 games played. Maybe that's sneaky, but whatever. Virginia Tech and UCLA have decided to move on from their head coaches. When it came to hot seat, I don't even think I had Deshaun Foster on my hot seat or warm seat or anything like that. I figured they would give him at least another year, but nope, they're done. They're already out. So Virginia Tech fires Brent Pry, 4th season. He had a 16-24 overall record with Virginia Tech. Started the season 0-3 with losses to Vandy, South Carolina, and then Old Dominion. I mean, we saw this happening. I said it was going to happen from the beginning of the season. I just didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. And then UCLA moves on from Deshaun Foster. He had a 5-10 record, and he was only in his 2nd season. 0-3 start to this season as well, with losses to Utah, UNLV, and New Mexico. Not great for either team. Both teams are in a terrible spot. Um, and here's the thing too: is with these coaches being fired, players now are within the next 30 days are allowed to enter the transfer portal at any time. Why? And maybe it's sneaky and they shouldn't do that, but why wouldn't you wait until you've played 5 games? Because for those who don't know the rule, if you have played 4 games or less and you have not utilized a red shirt yet, you can go ahead and utilize it. You can play up to 4 games and still have a red shirt. So with them firing their coaches after only 3 games being played, there is going to be a bunch of guys who essentially quit the team, enter the portal, and redshirt this year. It it might get dark for both of these teams for the rest of the season. It might be bad. Um, which job is more enticing at this point? I think when you look at both of them, the only thing, and both programs, both coaching spots are not going to. I'm just gonna say it right now. They're probably not going to pull many, if any, Power Four coaches, head coaches from their current positions. If you told me somebody like, I don't know, Jake Dickert from Wake Forest, someone like that makes the jump to Virginia Tech or UCLA even, then I guess I could see that. But you're not going to get PJ Fleck to UCLA. You're not going to get any names that you want from current Power Four head coaches if you're UCLA or Virginia Tech. I think the one thing UCLA has going for them is they are in the Big Ten, and that's a plus. That's a huge plus. But everything else surrounding that program, I wouldn't want to touch it. They will probably have to go after, if they're trying to go get a guy from a Power Four team, it's going to be a coordinator of sorts. But realistically, they'll probably have to go down to the G5 level to pull somebody up if they're trying to go for someone who's had head coaching experience. Um, I think the biggest loser in both of these firings has to be Nico Iamaliava. Uh, let's be honest. You tried to get more money at Tennessee, they wouldn't do it. You go into the portal because, well, when you tried shopping around, they kicked you off the team. And then you started shopping yourself around and realized, oh, I'm actually about to get paid less. So not only did you leave Tennessee where you were getting paid more, you also left a state that is, has no income tax, to California, who has a lot of income tax, and you go over to that team, you start the season 0-3, and then your head coach is fired. What a disaster. There's no way he's already utilized a red shirt, so he's gonna stick around for the rest of the season. More than likely would be my guess. But he's gone. There's no way Nico Iamaliava is back at UCLA next year. What an absolute dumpster fire, a disaster. The only thing he can hope for is that he plays the rest of the season, plays really well, and then somebody pays a little bit more to bring him to their team next year. But yeah, Virginia Tech, UCLA, starting it early. Uh, it's kind of strange because last year with the head coaching changes, it felt like there just was not a lot, and there was a lot that you thought would happen and just didn't. Feels like we're already on track for a lot of coaches getting fired this year. All right, moving on to my Power Four freshman QB rankings. Um, I mean, it was a battle for number one this last weekend. It was Drake Lindsey versus Jaron Kiave Sangapula, and unfortunately, or at least for me as a Gopher fan, not for a college football fan though, because if you guys have not watched JKS play, my goodness, he is going to be special. I I hope he stays at Cal. I do. Um, it would just be funny because this offseason he's going to have people reaching out to him and trying to offer him so much money for him to come to their team. I hope he just sticks it to all of them and stays at Cal. Coming up to all the way up to number two. He started at like 6 or 7. Julian Sayin, he has played great after that Texas game. Coming in at 3, I got Bryce Underwood making the jump back up. Bounced back after that tough game against Oklahoma. Played very well last week against, well, Central Michigan. So, I mean, it's nobody special, but still played really well. Got to give him his flowers for that. I have Drake Lindsey dropping down to number 4. I have CJ Carr staying put actually at number 5. You could argue that he should be at 3 or 4, and that's fine. Unfortunately for you, it's my power rankings, not yours. Uh, Malik Washington coming in at 6. He hasn't been phenomenal, but he also hasn't been bad. He has been steady Eddie. He's been good. Bear Bachmeyer was on a bye this week, didn't play. I have him bumping down to 7. Uh, and then newcomer this week, coming in at number 8, Cutter Boley for Kentucky. Now we'll see if he continues to be the starter. Because if he does, then he will be in constant rotation the rest of the year. Because I mean, let's be honest, he didn't play great, but he didn't play horrible. He played better than Zach Calzada did. So I'm sure he's going to be the starter from here on out. And then coming in last place, where he's been so far this whole season, Zane Flores from Oklahoma State. He did not play this last week, had a bye week, but wouldn't have mattered. He'd still be in last. All right, previewing this weekend's games. We'll start with Friday game. Iowa at Rutgers. I mean, this is not going to probably come as a shock to anybody, but I mean, Iowa's defense is pretty good. I wouldn't say they're as scary or as dominant as they've been in years past, but they're still a good offense. I mean, a good defense. Sorry, not a good offense. Because again, shocker, Iowa does not have a quarterback still. Offense still sucks. At this point, I mean, you gotta blame Kirk Ferentz for why they just never have a good quarterback, because that's the common theme is him. Um, through 3 weeks, Mark Gronowski has I will give him props. He has gotten better each and every week. That being said, he started the season off so brutally that you could only go up from there. So he has gotten better. It's still not great. Now, when you think of a Greg Schiano team, you kind of think it's going to be a defense is going to be the strength. Offense is going to have their good years and their average years. But you really do think that the defense is typically going to be the best part about that team. So far this season, that is the complete opposite. Rutgers' offense has been phenomenal. Ethan Kaligmanis has played very well through 3 games. But the defense has not been good. Now, if you're a Gopher fan, you're probably not shocked to hear that because it is Rob Smith that is the defensive coordinator. But for those of you who don't know, Rob Smith is the defensive coordinator, so don't expect that defense to get much better. If anything, they'll get worse as the year goes on. Rutgers is, I believe, they're still an underdog. When I put this in here, they're a 1.5 point underdog. I feel like that's unfair because we've seen this Rutgers offense. This Rutgers offense has been great. They're playing at home. Yes, the defense hasn't been great for Rutgers, but Iowa's offense is also not good. I kind of lean Rutgers in this one, if I'm going to be honest. It really is a toss up. Clearly, Vegas thinks so as well. But I have to. I am going to lean Rutgers in this one. All right, Saturday games though. We'll start with the noon slate, and we are going to start with potentially the game of the day. Number 17 Texas Tech at number 16 Utah. Um, Utah is the favorite. I think they're a 2.5 point favorite right now, which it started at like 3. So I mean, it's starting to trend towards Texas Tech, which I'll give my thoughts here. So Utah has looked phenomenal. Devin Dampier has looked great. Utah finally has a quarterback, and knock on wood, wherever, he's healthy so far, which, as we all know, has not been the case for Cam Rising at Utah the last few years. Completing 73% of his passes, throwing for over 200 yards a game, 7 touchdowns, and he has been great with his legs. I believe he is actually their leading rusher as of right now. And this is not going to come as a shock, but defense looks really good again, per usual. Now, this year, they look like the team that everybody thought Utah was going to be last year in the Big 12. I think injuries and inexperience at the quarterback position, hampered that a little bit. But this is what we expected Utah to be so far. Now, granted, they haven't played any Big 12 teams yet. This is their first test, but they look good so far. Now, granted, they have played UCLA, who just fired their coach, Cal Poly, whatever, who is an FCS school, and then Wyoming of the Mountain West. So this will be their first real test. But so far, they look the part. Now, Texas Tech has also started off hot. Their defense has looked great. And I think they've allowed a total of like 120 ish rushing yards combined over 3 games. And this is also not going to come as a shock, but the offense has been on fire. They scored 67 against Arkansas Pine Bluff, 62 against Kent State, and 45 against Oregon State. Now, Kent State and Oregon State are absolutely terrible teams, and Arkansas Pine Bluff is an FCS school. So, we are going to take that as a grain of salt. There's nobody that actually scares you. Combined, they are 2-7 so far this year. So, they didn't really face the toughest competition yet. And you can argue the same for Utah, but I do think Utah's competition has been a little better. I think this week we see Texas Tech come back to earth a little bit. I think we see Utah establish themselves as officially the team to beat in the Big 12, which I already personally think that they are. But this weekend they prove it. I have Utah winning. Alrighty, Maryland at Wisconsin. Wisconsin started at like a 7.5 point favorite. Now they're up to 10.5. So clearly, people expect Wisconsin to run away with this one. But Wisconsin has had a rough start to the season. You could argue they have played good for one full half so far this year. Slow starts against Miami of Ohio, and actually a slow game overall. And then a slow start to Middle Tennessee. And now, granted, first game of the season against Miami of Ohio, Billy Edwards did go down with injury. So they have been playing with their backup quarterback. So I should preface everything by saying that. But the offense has really struggled. They are 105th in yards per game just through 3 games. Take away Alabama, but Middle Tennessee and Miami of Ohio were not necessarily the most difficult teams to face. And Wisconsin scored what, 14, 17, somewhere in there against Miami of Ohio. Now they did turn it on in the second half against Middle Tennessee, so I did give them their flowers for that. But then they just went and got their ass kicked by Bama. Defensively, they looked good against the run. But they got absolutely torched last week by Bama, and you know that Maryland likes to throw the ball. That is what they've always done. That's what Billy Edwards did all last year to the Big Ten, and then now he's at Wisconsin. We'll see if he actually plays. So Maryland's going to want to throw the ball, and they are going to look at that Alabama game from last week and be like, "Whew, we may not have the athletes that Alabama has, but we're going to exploit some stuff." Um, Maryland, and this is not going to come as a shock, is 3-0. Maryland is and it's been this way with Mike Locksley. Actually, maybe it's just been this way for Maryland since they joined the Big Ten, but they are the king of August and September football. They always end or get towards the end of September 3-0, 4-0, something like that, or 3-1, 4-1, somewhere in there. One loss or undefeated, and then they basically go winless for October and November. That's the story of Mike Locksley at Maryland. That's just what Maryland does. So I'm not shocked that they're 3-0 right now. Freshman quarterback Malik Washington has played well so far. They have feels like they're not asking a ton from him, but he has played very well, especially being a true freshman. Where I'm a little worried about this Maryland offense is they have had, and maybe this is actually a good thing for them. Um, who knows? They have had a different leading rusher in every single game so far this season, uh, which means they don't have that one guy to take that load. So that makes me a little nervous for Maryland this year. And plus, I actually just don't think they're going to be that great. Uh, I feel like Maryland being a 10.5 point dog at Wisconsin, I think is a little unfair just based on what we've seen from Wisconsin this year. Um, I think Maryland has a chance to keep this close. I don't think they win, but 10.5 points seems like a lot. Then we got SMU at TCU. TCU opened the season with UNC and looked amazing on both sides of the ball. And they played Abilene Christian. Was it this last week? I don't know if it was this last weekend or the weekend before because they've already had a bye week. And they won easily. But they did allow ACU, I guess we can call them that, Abilene Christian's quarterback to sling it around a little bit, which would make me a little nervous if I was a TCU fan. But who knows? You could argue. I mean, I did go back and look. There was a lot of just explosive pass plays. Yes, Abilene Christian didn't score a lot, but he was able to get a lot of explosive plays in the passing game. That would make me a little nervous if I was TCU. SMU has looked a little iffy to start this season. They lost in a shootout to Baylor in double overtime, allowed 600 yards of offense in that game. And then they got off to a very sluggish start against Missouri State, had a very rough first quarter, and then turned it around and ended up winning quite easily. Helps when they had like three and picked off Missouri State's former Gopher, Jacob Clark, picked him off like 3 times, so that helps. Um, Offensively, they've been a little turnover prone though this year. It's part of the reason why they had a rough first quarter. And defensively, I mean, they got absolutely torched by Sawyer Robinson. Pass defense has been a little iffy. I think I lean TCU in this one because yes, they let uh, Abilene Christian's quarterback sling it around a little bit and allowed some explosive plays. They looked very good against North Carolina. SMU has looked a little shaky to start this season. I'm going TCU in this one. Moving on to the afternoon games. We're not going to discuss this one too deeply because usually in a rivalry game you can say throw out the record books, and I don't think you can do that this year. The Civil War. Oregon State at number 6 Oregon. Oregon's favored by like 30 points or something along those lines. Oregon's gauntlet of a schedule to start the season, it just continues. Oregon State is very bad. Oregon is very good. It is a rivalry, so maybe Oregon State puts up a fight. I'm not feeling too confident though. Number 22 Auburn at number 11 Oklahoma. Oklahoma, I think, is a 5.5 point favorite at home. I did not write them down this week, which was a mistake. Um, Jackson Arnold revenge game, and honestly, from what we've seen from Auburn, I think they have a chance. Both of these defenses have been pretty good. Auburn held Baylor's highest scoring offense to only 24 points. Now, granted, it was first game of the season, so you're still trying to work some things out, whatever. So maybe we can, because Baylor, that second half, Sawyer Robinson went off against Auburn and has not looked back since. So you could argue it was just that first sluggish start to the season. Who knows? They still held Baylor's offense to just 24 points. Run defense has been great, but the pass defense, again, got torched by Sawyer Robinson in that second half. Is just eh. Now, Oklahoma completely shut down Michigan's offense when they came to town, which, I mean, it's a Michigan offense. They can't really throw the ball. And so you stop the run and game over. Um, but they've been dominant at both stopping the run and the pass. I mean, it's a Brent Venables defense. You expect it to be good. Um, Oklahoma has the better passing attack in this one. Auburn has the better running attack. We already saw Oklahoma go up against a relatively tough defense in Michigan. I don't know how great they are yet. I do think Michigan's defense, though, is significantly better than what Auburn has faced so far. I am leaning Oklahoma in this one. It is home. I do think they win this one, but Auburn has a real shot at this. Uh, Number 21, Michigan at Nebraska. I think Michigan is currently a 2.5 point favorite. Uh, Honestly, and I think this game could be sneaky the best game of the afternoon slot. There is a chance that Auburn, Oklahoma gets away from whoever's the winning team, just and ends up being a bad game. This might be the sneaky best game of the afternoon. Through 3 games, Michigan has looked relatively good. They looked really good against New Mexico and Central Michigan. They looked like ass against Oklahoma. Uh, as I already mentioned, they just could not get anything going offensively, shut down the run game, and they can't really throw the ball. But the defense has looked pretty good through 3 games so far. Now, for Nebraska, they opened the season with a win against Cincinnati, which, I mean, they very easily could have lost. Um, and if you're a Nebraska fan, you think that Dylan Raiola played amazing. If you're literally anybody else, you know that that was not the greatest game from Dylan Raiola, and it was fine, but it was nothing special. He has been really good in their other 2 games, but again, we're looking at Akron, who's very bad, and Houston Christian, who I believe they're FCS. Either way, they are teams that you should look very good against. Now, this is definitely, I should say definitely, because I got to give some props to Cincinnati, I guess, but this is probably the toughest defense that he's going to be facing so far at this point this year. But this is not going to be the toughest defense that Michigan's had to face. We'll see if Nebraska is able to shut down that run game. We did see Underwood utilize his legs a lot more last week, and he was phenomenal. Um, I mean, it's the game plan with every time you play Michigan if you're any team. If you can shut down the run game, you have a legitimate shot to win the game. I still think Michigan will win this one, though, even though they're on the road. NC State at Duke. Duke is a 2.5, 3 point favorite somewhere in there. Um, Duke is 1-2 to start the season, which I did not see coming. I had them at 2-1 at this point. Lost to Illinois, lost to Tulane, and NC State is 3-0 with wins over Wake Forest, ECU, and I don't even remember who the third one was. Oh, Virginia. Uh, Neither of these defenses have played very good, which Duke that's shocking. Duke should have a good defense. Manny Diaz is a great defense coordinator. You expect him to have a good defense, but they haven't been particularly great. Um, NC State struggles to stop the pass. Not that Duke has been great at that either, but that's what NC State does struggle with a lot. But Duke struggles the most against the run. And if you don't know anything about NC State, they have a great running back in Hollywood Smothers. He is going to have a field day against this defense if they don't get it turned around. Um, Offensively, I definitely give North Carolina State the edge between these 2 teams, even though Darian Mensah is exciting or has the potential to be. I do give NC State the advantage in that one. And I think Duke could struggle to shut down Smothers. I also think that this could be a shootout because, again, NC State's defense is not great. Darian Mensah can be very exciting and could have a very good game. Give me NC State in this one, but I do think that this one's going to be a shootout. And then getting into the evening games, South Carolina at Missouri. Missouri is like a nearly two touchdown favorite. I think they're 12 and a half. South Carolina has not started the season hot. Every single question, basically, that I had going into the season about South Carolina has reared its ugly head. Offensive line is not good, looked good. Run game has just been eh. Passing game is just eh. These wide receivers have not taken that next step forward for Lenore Sellers. Not that he has also looked great. They have had to rely heavily on their special teams just to get their two wins. And then the one game that they didn't get any special teams touchdowns, they lost. Not that it was necessarily close. South Carolina has not looked good. And unfortunately for me, because I am just the biggest Missouri hater, Missouri has looked so great this year. Any questions that we had going into the season about Missouri, they have answered every single one in glowing fashion. Bo Prabula has looked great. They are hitting on all, not all, but a good amount of their transfers that they brought in. It bothers me to say it, but Mizzou has been so good. Run game is top five. They are top five in total yards, top 10 in scoring through 3 games, and defensively they are top 10 in the pass defense and top five in total yards allowed. They've been so good, and it bothers me to say that Mizzou Mizzou might be looking at a playoff spot coming at the end of the season. Um, Everything we've seen from South Carolina does not give me any confidence whatsoever that they will be able to pull off the upset. Give me Missouri in that one. Florida at Miami. Miami's like a touchdown favorite, I think. Uh, I honestly, from what I've seen from these two teams over the last 3 weeks, I feel like 7.5 points, if that's what it's still at for Miami, is just a little disrespectful because yes, Florida's defense has looked great. The offense has just been absolute ass, and Miami has looked good on both sides of the ball and has been dominating. Yes, it was a close win against Notre Dame. They kind of faltered in that fourth quarter a little bit. Otherwise, they've been completely dominant. Uh, I think Miami wins this one easily. I don't like the number of 7.5. I would like that to drop or even go up. I would prefer it to drop, obviously. I don't think that's going to happen, but 7.5 is such a scary number. But I think Miami wins this one easily. All right, Illinois at Indiana. Indiana is currently like a 3.5 point favorite, I believe, maybe four. And this is the game that I think I'm having the hardest time reading because Indiana, the best team that they've played so far was Old Dominion to open up the season. Otherwise, they played Kennesaw State and Indiana State. Now, Kennesaw and Indiana State, they have looked phenomenal against. They looked great. But Indiana State's FCS and Kennesaw State is not that good. ODU, the best team that they've played, had two like 75-yard touchdown runs. One at the beginning of the game, one at the end of the game, but could do nothing in between, which was great news for this Indiana defense to an extent. But the offense struggled against ODU's defense, which makes me think they are going to struggle against Illinois' defense. But they have looked damn good in their wins. Right now, they are averaging 52 points a game, which is seventh in college football, and allowing 7.7 points per game, which is sixth. They have been dominating outside of the ODU game. Illinois is a good team. They bring back a lot of starters from last year, so we saw what they were last year. We kind of assumed that's what they were going to be this year, and they've looked every part of what they were last year, except the wide receivers. It is different just because you did lose your top two, but outside of that, it's pretty much what you expected so far. I think I think Illinois wins this one. I do. I think Indiana gets a rude awakening in this one. I am gonna have to go with Illinois in this one. I think the just how they've looked so far this year and how they are just it feels like a very balanced team. I got to go Illinois before I talk myself out of it. Arizona State at Baylor. I mean, Baylor's had a pretty decent non-con schedule compared to others. First two games were against Power Four opponents, and I mean, this offense for Baylor, it is so great when they throw the ball, but anytime they try to run it, it has just not been great. Top five passing attack in the country. Sawyer Robinson's thrown for over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. But running the ball has just been, and defensively too, they have not been good, especially at stopping the run. They have just been getting absolutely gashed. Uh, only when it comes to stopping the run, only five teams have been worse so far this season. Virginia Tech 0-3 fired their coach. UCLA 0-3 fired their coach. Oklahoma State 1-1 coach might get fired. Colorado, who is 1-2 and has not been good, and then Ole Miss, who is 3-0. So that's like the one outlier. But the only Power Four teams other than Ole Miss that they are better than at stopping the run, nobody that's a good team. So they've been brutal. Now Arizona State started off with Northern Arizona, Mississippi State, and Texas State. And once again, Arizona State is great at running the ball. Phenomenal. But they have struggled to throw the ball so far this year. And honestly, they need to find another receiving option. Because right now, Jordan Tyson is their only option in the passing game. He has 24 receptions. The rest of the team has 26 combined. He has 314 yards. The rest of the team combined has 213. And he's got 4 touchdowns. The rest of the team combined, one. That is insane. The drastic drop off after him. They need another receiving option, it feels like. Now, defensively, they have been great at stopping the run, which they're going up a team who already sucks at running the ball, so that's going to get shut down. But they have struggled to stop the pass, and Baylor likes to throw the ball a lot, and they are very good at throwing the ball. Vice versa, Baylor struggles at stopping the run, and Arizona State loves to run the ball. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. A lot of explosive runs, a lot of explosive passing plays. Give me Baylor in this one. I'm not confident though. Michigan State at USC. USC is now like an 18.5 point favorite, which I think is a little crazy. Yes, I know the offense has been great to start the season. They're like second in points per game, first in yards point per game, sixth in passing yards, 17th in rushing. Jaden Mayava has been on fire, thrown for nearly 1,000 yards, 69 nice completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But the defense has just been Um, especially last week against Purdue. Now, granted, against Purdue, they were a very bend don't break defense, so they gave up a lot, but then would turn Purdue over. But I mean, Aiden Childs is not Ryan Brown. Michigan State is not Purdue. And Aiden Childs has looked better this year than he did last year. He is less turnover prone through the first 3 games. He is completing a higher percentage of his passes. He looks like a much better quarterback this season than he did last year. He's even utilizing his legs better than he was last year so far. I'm not saying that Michigan State's going to win this game and just that they're going to go on the road and come away with a win. They have a chance. I just think after what we saw with Purdue last week against USC, and what we've seen so far from Michigan State and Aiden Childs, I do think that Michigan State can cover. Now, Michigan State's defense got absolutely torched by Boston College Dylan Lonergan, so I'd expect Jaden Mayava to have a big game in this one. And again, I'm not saying Michigan State wins, but I do think that they can at least cover in this one. So that is my week 4 preview. Honestly, I mean, I'm gonna watch a lot of games this weekend, but I thought it was gonna be a lot harder to pick out games to cover. but it really wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. Now, it's going to be a lot more difficult coming up in the next few weeks, but I think last weekend's slate was a lot better than this weekend's, if I'm going to be honest. Now, moving on to my 5 favorite bets. We already touched on it the other day. I was so bad this last weekend, and I am making a promise that I will not go 1-4 again. I will be better, and that starts this week. Starting with Utah -2.5 at one -122. I just think Utah is the significantly better team. They're playing at home. Give me Utah to win relatively easily. Give me Tennessee first half -22.5. They are playing UAB. UAB's defense has not looked good. Um, we see this with Tennessee anytime they play a non-power four opponent at home. They just absolutely run up that score in that first half, and then they just coast to the rest of the game. They did it last year with Nico Iamaleava. Imagine what they're going to do this year with Joey Aguilar. So give me Tennessee first half -22.5 and hammer that. Tulane +10.5 against Ole Miss. I just think what we've seen from Ole Miss so far and what we've seen from Tulane, that there's no way they can't at least make it interesting and keep it close. Um, Give me Georgia State first half +14.5. I mean, we've seen it so every week so far for Vandy. They're a keep it close in the first half, break away in that second half, and I expect that to be the same this week. And then finally, and we just touched on it, give me Michigan State +18.5. Again, from what we've seen from both of these teams so far this year, I'm not saying they're going to win, but I do think they can at least cover. And then finally, the Power 4 Moneyline Parlay I decided to get a little crazy with this week. Give me Arkansas, TCU, NC State with the upset, and Illinois with the upset. And that comes out at +1131. I know it's a little out there. Such a small chance of winning. I feel pretty confident in it this week though. But yeah, that is my week for preview. Those are my favorite bets. That is my freshman quarterback rankings. I hope y'all enjoyed. Enjoy the football this weekend. Happy betting, and I will be back on Monday to recap week 4.